Hello. There have been some requests for me to do a pre-flight on the Aerostar 601P. So I thought I'd do that today, and as a basic guide I have the section 3 in the Pilot's Operating Handbook, which is a very, very detailed checklist of what they think you should do in a pre-flight. What I think most aircraft owners and pilots do is they kind of do their own little abbreviated version of pre-flight, and that's what I'm going to do today. I don't personally have a checklist for it. I just have a kind of a flow that I do. So let me take you through that one. Like on most twins and high performance aircraft, there is no real physical way of checking the fuel quantity in the aircraft. So how do we do that? Well, that is the first step on the pre-flight. And you'll see here very shortly that I'll turn the battery master on, and we will check the fuel gauges. And we will also double check with the shading fuel totalizer to see if they correspond. As you can see here, the Aerostar has three tank gauges. One is the center tank, which is the fuselage tank, and then you have the left wing and the right wing. And as you can see here, it shows, well, I would say about 25 gallons in the center tank and 5 gallons in each wing, which is pretty much true to my computations after the last flight. I haven't fueled her up since the last flight. Now, it's hard to tell here, but on the annunciator panel here, there's also a low fuel warning light that should be out. That goes on when the fuselage tank has 12 gallons left in it. And I don't think you can see it, but it's actually out here. POH wants you to start at the entrance to the cabin and go the other way around, but I don't think that makes much sense because there's a lot of stuff you can do back here. So I always start at the baggage compartment. And one of the things we do here, first thing, is put on our gloves because we're going to get dirty, and also check the hydraulic fluid or level. And the hydraulic level on the Aerostar is hidden behind. And you want to see a little less than half full. Another thing you can do back here is you can check the fuel. The center fuel tank is right down here, and the drain plugs are right beneath this spot. Now the Aerostar has three main drains, one for each tank, one for each wing, and then the center fuselage tank. It also has a fuel ventilation drain system if you have a certain modification that I have to ventilate the wing tanks. And what normally happens is that a lot of fuel gets caught up in this ventilation tract, and it has to do with thermal expansion and stuff. So you always have to drain that. And this time it was 1 cup. Normally when you've filled her up and she's been sitting on the tarmac on a hot day, it can take up to 7 or 8 of these cups to drain the ventilation system. After that, it's time to do your basic walk around. I'll just start from here and just check that everything is good. Now the Aerostar has this main pitot tube at the top of the tail, so there's no real cover you can put on, or not in an easy way at least, so it's always exposed to the weather elements. So it's important to have a little look at that and see that there's no obvious obstructions or anything like that. As you come in here, just check that the flaps are up and that the guide rail for the flap looks okay. And you can also check that the ailerons are working fine and free move. If you inspect the landing gear, it's important to look at this supporting brace here and see that it has been in the lock position and it hasn't, come loose or anything. Also just a general look here, no obvious hydraulic leaks or anything like that. So what you want to look for here is basically there's no, obvious leaks on the disc brakes or the disc or the brake line. You also want to look that there's enough disc brake pads left and no general leaks in the struts, and that the torque links are reasonably tight, because they are the only ones that keep the wheel aligned. If one of these should break, the wheel will just spin and that's it, you're off the runway. And also, when you're down here, it's very, very important to check the exhausts and put a firm shake on them and see that they're not rattling or anything. Because if they are, that's an immediate no-go, because that means you probably, well, the chances of an engine fire or engine compartment fire increases a lot. So this is a big thing on the Piper Aerostars and most high-performance twins. You have to check these. Check that the fuel caps are on and locked down. Check the general condition of the de-icing food. Generally check the general condition of the blades, and if you've made sure that the magnetos are off, I'm going to do right now. Yes, you can go ahead and spin them a little bit. Also, I always verify that the oil cap's on, and I do that by opening here, letting some light in, and I can see from here if the oil cap's on. It is. I want to make sure that the static air intake is free and clear of obstructions, and it's placed here right at the front end of the windscreen on the Aerostar on both sides. And I've noticed a little residual leak here. I don't know if you can see, there's some fluid on the tire. Hydraulic steering actuator, and you can see here, I don't know if you see that there's a little bit of a hydraulic leak there just by the O-ring of that actuator. It's not a major thing, but it should be looked at some point. That pretty much concludes the pre-flight on the Piper Aerostar 601P. As you can see, it's pretty simple. It's actually a little bit less to do on this one than there used to be on my old Aero Commander. Okay, that only leaves the flying, so let's go flying.